Hello again. One can always depend upon David Lammy to say something idiotic, and he did not disappoint yesterday when he fielded questions on a radio phone-in on LBC. He was defending the ultra-low emission zone in London, which is to be extended across every London borough now. And when the question came up of working people getting to their jobs, folk like window cleaners, decorators, gas fitters, and so on in vans, he started talking about how wonderful public transport was, and that this meant that cars and vans were unnecessary. The idea of a painter and decorator carrying his ladder and pots of paints on the tube is a delightful one. Following a challenge in the High Court, it now seems certain that the ultra-low emission zone being planned by the Mayor of London is sure to go ahead. The ostensible aim is, of course, a reduction of air pollution in the capital, but there's a good deal more to it than that. What happens when all cars are compliant and there is no income to be made from those terrible polluting motor vehicles? That will leave a big hole in the finances of the Greater London Authority. Not to worry, because they are already planning ahead and looking at a way to extract money from motorists even when they are all driving clean electric vehicles. In the description to this video, I give a link to an extract from Hansard, which reports on the proceedings of the House of Commons. A fortnight ago, on July the 13th, the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Transport, Richard Holden, said in the House, "I met the Acting Chief Financial Officer and Seb Dance, the Deputy Mayor for Transport, yesterday. They informed me that the Mayor of London, in anticipation of falling revenues from ULEZ in the next few years, had asked them to investigate the technicalities of introducing road charging across London in the future." You see, presumably, what is being planned here. You would think that if air pollution were really the reason for the ULEZ, that everybody in City Hall would be really pleased and excited when there are no more polluting cars on the roads of London. But instead, they view the prospect with alarm and are already trying to find a way to make up for lost revenue. The idea is that they will use cameras to read people's registration numbers and then charge them for the distance that they drive in London. In fact, of course, levels of pollution in London are utterly negligible these days, and the ULEZ scheme will make little difference to them. It's quite true that they used to be very high once upon a time, but that was ages ago. In the 1950s, for example, there were power stations at Battersea and Bankside in central London. Bankside is where the modern Tate Gallery is now. It used to be a power station. Both these power stations burned coal, just chucked out all the pollution into the air. 98% of homes in London also burned coal at that time for heating. Every day, 2,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide, 370 tonnes of sulphur dioxide, and 140 tonnes of hydrochloric acid were simply discharged into the air over London. Those clouds blocked out the sun as well. In November at that time, there was an average of 38 hours of sunshine in November. Today, there are 70 hours of sunshine in that month. Ah, the good old days. To pretend that the ultra-low emission zone is about pollution is nonsense. Incidentally, efforts to phase out petrol-driven vehicles in favour of electric ones have hit the buffers in a number of places because there simply will not be enough electricity, due of course to the rush for net zero. We would need to double the amount of electricity we are producing to charge all those vehicles, while at the same time relying largely on windmills to produce the electricity. In Cardiff, the local council decided a couple of years ago to replace all their nasty, polluting, diesel-driven waste disposal lorries with nice new electric ones. That will stop all those diesel fumes in the city. A curious citizen passed a depot a while ago and happened to notice a lot of diesel-powered generators about the place, some of which were seemingly connected up to electric lorries. It appears that for some reason or other, since the electric lorries replaced the diesel ones, they've been unable to charge them from the mains, and so they are now running diesel-powered generators to charge the batteries instead. This is priceless because it means that there is no reduction at all in emissions in Cardiff, but simply that the diesel fumes are being generated out of sight in a council depot instead of on the streets. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news item about this. The whole petrol-driven car business grows weirder and weirder by the day, and two things seem clear. First, that local authorities see things like speed cameras and anti-pollution zones as great money spinners, but they will not admit this openly. Instead, they pretend that it's all about kiddies developing asthma, which was the line that David Lammy took on the phone-in. Secondly, although the pretense is maintained that we're all going to switch to electric cars, this is hopelessly unrealistic and there is no chance at all of it happening in the near future. Even if it does, then some other way of exploiting motorists will be devised, things like charging per mile for car use. There is an awful lot of hypocrisy and double dealing going on here.